So if you've watched the biggest anime megastructures video that we've uploaded recently, we promised there that we will create a 15 biggest ever robot and mechs in anime video. So this is our promise fulfilled. Let's get to it. At number 15 we have Zearth from Bokurano. So Bokurano is a dark sci-fi anime about a group of middle school kids who think that they are joining a fun video game, but soon they discover that they must pilot a gigantic robot called Zearth to fight against other gigantic robots in battles that will decide whether Earth survives or not. The anime becomes very emotional because each fight has a serious consequence, and the kids slowly learn the terrible truth behind the game. Zearth itself is an absolutely enormous robot, standing around 500 meters tall, which makes it far bigger than most famous anime mechs. It has a creepy black design with super long arms and legs with heavy armor and powerful laser attacks strong enough to blast deep into the Earth's crust. Even though it looks slim, it feels massive and intimidating, almost like a walking skyscraper, and its strange appearance makes it one of the most memorable and iconic giant robots in anime. At 14 we have the Dai-Gurren or the Dai-Gurren. So Gurren Lagann is an action-packed mecha anime set in a far future where humans are forced to live underground by the cruel Spiral King called Lord Genome. The story follows two teenage boys, Simon and Kamina, who escape to the surface using a small robot called the Lagann, and they begin fighting against gigantic enemy mechs to free humanity. One of the coolest machines in the anime is the massive walking fortress called Dai-Gurren, originally known as Dai-Gurren before the team Dai-Gurren captured it. It is basically a giant moving battleship many hundreds of times larger than normal gunmen robots, and it is covered in armor, cannons and hangars that launch smaller mechs from its arms. After Simon's team takes control, they repaint it red and turn it into their mobile headquarters and flagship, so the Dai-Gurren feels almost like a moving city/mech that is 500 meters tall. At 13 we have the SDF-1 Macross. So Super Dimension Fortress Macross is a classic sci-fi mecha anime about humanity fighting against giant alien warriors called the Zentradi after a huge alien spaceship crashes on Earth. The story follows the crew and civilians living inside this gigantic spaceship called the SDF-1 Macross, which becomes both a battleship and a flying city carrying thousands of people through space during the war. The SDF-1 Macross is absolutely enormous, large enough to contain an entire city inside its hull, along with factories, homes, streets and military bases. The Macross also carries hundreds of transforming fighter mechs called Valkyries, which can switch between jet, robot and hybrid modes. This is only possible because the SDF-1 is stated to be more than 1.2 kilometers in length, and it is also equal in height when it transforms into a mega robot mode. Number 12. The Giant God Warriors. So this one comes from the Nausicaa Valley of the Wind movie, which is a famous sci-fi fantasy anime set in a ruined world covered by toxic forests and gigantic insects after an ancient disaster called the 7 Days of Fire that nearly destroyed all of humanity. One of the most terrifying creations in the story is the Giant God Warriors, gigantic biomechanical beings or robots created by humanity as super weapons that turn on their creators during the ancient war. These robotic monsters are unbelievably huge, standing around 1 to 2 kilometers tall, making them taller than any skyscraper or being the size of a small mountain. They look like giant humanoids made from flesh and machine parts, with glowing eyes and a massive energy cannon hidden inside their mouths. Their beams are powerful enough to wipe out entire cities and even the ancient human civilization, which is actually our modern civilization, because this anime is set in the far future. Number 11. The Strelizia Apus. So Dawn in the Franxx is a sci-fi mecha anime set in a future where humanity fight against giant monsters called the Klaxosaurs using powerful robots known as the Franxx. The story mainly follows Hero and Zero 2, whose bond allows them to pilot the legendary Franxx called Strelizia. Strelizia here is one of the most stylish giant robots in anime, with a sleek white body, glowing orange eyes, long golden hair like extensions, and a red high-heeled feet that makes it look almost like a giant armored warrior princess. It fights using a huge lance called the Queen Pike and can transform into stronger forms during emotional or dangerous moments. Later in the anime, Strelizia evolves into the gigantic Strelizia Apus, which becomes over 2 kilometers tall and thus makes it larger than many other mechs in anime and even in the entirety of sci-fi. At the 10th spot we have the Arc Gurren Lagann. So Gurren Lagann becomes even more over the top with the arrival of the Arc Gurren Lagann, a gigantic fusion between the battleship Arc Gurren and Simon's Gurren Lagann. Created during the fight against the mysterious anti-spirals and their Mugan forces, this massive mecha is around 5 kilometers tall, and it looks like a massive armored giant with enormous power and can perform attacks powerful enough to tear holes in space-time itself. One of its signature moves is called the Space-Time Shattering Burst Spinning Punch, which literally rips reality apart and throws enemies across dimensions. Arc Gurren Lagann here is also strong enough to help stop the moon from crashing onto Earth, and later becomes the energy core powering the even bigger Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann. Number 9. The Dekabutsu. So Gurren Lagann features many other gigantic machines, and one of the largest and most intimidating of the evil ones is the Dekabutsu, an enormous Dai-Gurren that serves as the capital city of Toppa under the rule of Lord Genome. Dekabutsu is far bigger than the Dai-Gurren battleship and is even more massive than the Arc Gurren Lagann, which makes it feel more like a walking fortress city than a normal robot. It has a bulky humanoid shape, but with tiny legs, gigantic arms, and one arm shaped like a huge hammer that it uses to crush enemies. The giant tower on its head acts as a docking station for Lord Genome's personal mech called the Lazengan, and it also lets him control the entire machine remotely, and it is the arch rival of Arc Gurren Lagann. Number 8. The Macross Cannon Soldier Mode. Super Dimension Fortress Macross 2 Love Us Again continues the gigantic space battles of the Macross universe with one of the largest warships ever seen in the franchise, the Macross Cannon class. These enormous Super Dimension Fortress ships are over 6,000 meters long and retains the same size in its soldier mode or, robot form. Each Macross Cannon class fortress is partly made from 4 gigantic alien Zentradi warships connected together, giving it incredible firepower and durability. Its main weapons are giant converging energy cannons that open across the ship's body and fire devastating beams capable of destroying several enemy warships in a single attack. In battle, these Macross cannons act like floating super weapons, smashing through enemy fleets during the war against the Marduk, and they are even more intimidating in their robot mode. On the 7th spot we have the Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann. So Gurren Lagann reaches truly insane cosmic levels with the Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann, a colossal transformed battleship created from the Super Galaxy Dai-Gurren during the final war against the anti-spirals. This gigantic mecha is so unbelievably massive that it is said to be about half the size of Earth itself, around 5,000 kilometers in size, which makes it one of the largest mecha ever shown in anime. Originally known as Cathedral Terror under Lord Genome, it once served as a moon-sized flagship before Simon awakened its true power using spiral energy. Super Galaxy Gurren Lagann looks like a gigantic armored humanoid covered in drills and huge sunglasses, and can unleash planet-sized drill attacks. Its strongest move is called the Super Galaxy Giga Drill Break, and it is a devastating attack capable of destroying gigantic anti-spiral enemy battleships almost instantly. But bigger than it is the Diebuster. So this Diebuster is actually a wild sci-fi mecha anime and a sequel to Gunbuster, following a cheerful girl named Nono who dreams of becoming a space pilot but is secretly a robot, an incredibly powerful ancient machine called the Buster Machine 7. In her true form, Nono changes into a sleek white and red humanoid war machine with orange hair and missile launchers built into her legs, and it is capable of firing endless waves of powerful missiles and gigantic energy beams. This mecha uses advanced lost technology called the Degeneracy Generator, which makes her far more powerful than normal machines in the series. Later, she transforms into her ultimate form known simply as Diebuster, an absolutely gigantic entity around 10,000 kilometers tall, around the size of Earth itself. On the 5th spot we have the Deucalion. So this one comes from the anime called Kitty Grade, which is a sci-fi anime set in the far future where humanity has spread across space and a giant organization called the GOTT acts like a gigantic intergalactic police force to stop crime. The story mainly follows 2 agents, Eclair and Lumiere, who have powerful superhuman abilities, and they slowly uncover dark secrets hidden inside the organization they work for. Near the end of the series, one of the craziest giant machines appear, the Deucalion, in its mecha form. This thing is absolutely absurd in size, measuring around 65,000 kilometers long, making it vastly larger than Earth itself, and easily one of the biggest mecha-like constructs in anime. At that scale, the Deucalion is less like a robot and more like a moving world or even a cosmic superweapon. Number 4. Unicron. So wait a minute, interestingly enough, Transformers also had anime shows with their collaborations with Japanese production companies. Transformers Armada from the Unicron trilogy is one such anime, and here we have Unicron, a gigantic planet-sized mechanical god of destruction who wants to wipe out all of existence and become the only being left in the universe. Unicron here feeds on hatred, anger, and war, secretly manipulating both the Autobots and the Decepticons to grow even stronger and fight amongst themselves. Unlike normal giant robots, Unicron is so massive that he is basically a living planet with enormous mechanical horns, glowing eyes, giant claws, and country-sized weapons hidden across his body. He is always thought to be the size of Jupiter or Saturn, but even if he is smaller than this, he will still be as big or even bigger than the previous entry. On the third spot we have the Emperor Getter. So this one comes from Getter Robo, which is one of the most legendary giant robot franchises in anime, and here we have one of the biggest robots ever, the Getter Emperor, which is the final evolution of the Getter Robo. Unlike normal giant robots, the Getter Emperor is treated almost like a cosmic god or an unstoppable force of nature. It grows continuously by absorbing Getter energy and eventually becomes so enormous that it reaches galactic size. Getter Emperor can travel across dimensions, consume space-time itself, and devour matter on a universal scale, all while spreading humanity's dominance throughout the cosmos. To humans, it seems like a savior, but to alien civilizations, it is basically a nightmare beyond comprehension. On the second spot we have the Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann, and the Granzeboma. See, in Gurren Lagann, the final battle reaches completely absurd cosmic scales with Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann and its dark counterpart, the Granzeboma. These are not giant robots anymore. They are gigantic cosmic beings, still mechas, that are made from spiral power, from emotions, thoughts, and even raw cosmic energy. The Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann is said to be on the scale of a super spiral galaxy, meaning that it is so huge that entire galaxies look like tiny insects compared to it. Granzeboma was created by the anti-spiral to match the exact scale, so the two fight as equally gigantic universe-sized entities. During their battle, they throw around attacks with the power of big bangs, and they punch through dimensions and shatter space-time itself. And so obviously, on the number one spot we have the Super Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann, and also the Super Granzeboma. So here, these two are portrayed on a scale so massive that normal measurements almost stop making sense. According to official databooks and writer statements, the Super Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann is larger than the observable universe itself. Since the observable universe is about 93 billion light years wide, estimates for STTGL's size range from around 348 billion light years to over 10 trillion light years tall. The Super Granzeboma was created specifically to rival the Super Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann, meaning it exists on the same unimaginable multiversal scale. During their fight, these two cosmic entities clash with attacks powerful enough to trigger the Big Crunch, and the Super Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann's weapon is called the Giga Drill Break, which is even more massive. And so with that we come to the end of this video on the biggest mechas and robots in anime. Now do hit the like button for support and also click that bell button for regular updates on new video uploads. Subscribe to be a part of Legio Nutbug, and till the next time, take care, boys.